Imagine if you could sit down with this man, Robert Kiyosaki, and literally have lunch with him. Well, that just happened to me today. I read this book 24 years ago, and it had the most profound impact on me and my life. And what I chose to do was to come on this investor summit, and I've just immersed myself for the last 9 days with him. Today I actually took him through Wealth Migrate, our company, our platform. And you know what he said to me? He couldn't believe that people could invest in Phoenix, in Manhattan, in London. I literally showed him how you could get started from $10. And his exact words to me, wow, you are ahead of the curve. And it's just so interesting because it truly takes what he's been trying to do, which is democratize access to financial education. And now, not only have we given people the education, here's the book, he gives you the education, but we've given them the access. So it's my final day, and it's time to really get into some of the highlights. Now, today was all about panels. Today was all about synthesizing the information and ultimately about putting it into action. And so the highlight for me, as I said to you, already started at lunch, where I literally took him through the platform and he shared with me how he'd be ahead of the curve. We then went into a panel where it's not the fun stuff to discuss, but it was about legal, tax and debt and all the implications around how does someone protect oneself, how do you set it up from the right tax structures, and how do you do debt in the right way. And again, if you click on the link below, come and join the community. For those that are part of the Wealth Hackers or the Mastermind, I will go into all the details around how you can actually do this, both in a personal capacity, but also for your investments. Then we went into a fascinating panel called the Navigating the Winds of Change. It had Mike Maloney, it had Peter Schiff, it had Ken McElroy, and it had Robert Kiyosaki, and it was just amazing, including Jason Hartman in terms of that process. So the first thing we started off discussing was AI and the singularity. Now, I don't know if you do or don't know what the singularity is, but it's ultimately where technology and computers become more clever than the human mind. And they spoke about how there's really only two different outcomes in terms of where the world's going. It's either going to be heaven on earth or it's going to be extinction. Now, Peter Schiff went on to say that AI has the most potential out of anything that he's ever seen in his career. And he must be in his 50s or even 60s and speaks on all the national TV around finances and the economy. We then went into Mike Maloney talking about how he's seen this massive drive over the last, he started investing in gold and silver in 2002. And now the next coming wave is farming and the critical need for farming and food and infrastructure and all of that. And he's built a 9,000 acre farm and is doing it all with modern ways of doing farming so that it's good for the economy. Just by the way, for the farmers in the group, I'd love to share the presentation because it was really interesting what he's doing with sustainable farming. There was a comment here about enjoying life today but planning for tomorrow. And Mike Maloney said, he's got 14 Teslas and he was always planning for tomorrow, but actually he's realized that you need to plan for tomorrow, but you have to live for today and enjoy life today. Peter went a lot into the Trump bill. It's called, the Americans call it the Big Beautiful Bill. It's supposed to come out in the next month or so. It's going to have a huge amount of tax advantages, particularly to real estate investors and to business owners, but also a lot of things that he's promising the Americans won't come through, and they won't actually have a material impact on reducing the debt or actually turning around the massive problem that they've got with regards to their spending. What Peter went on to talk about on multiple occasions was preparing for the crash. He believes that it's going to be greater than 2008 in terms of that process. He says there's multiple flags all pointing in the same direction, and that this one will be even bigger because they won't be able to print their way out of it because it is a sovereign debt crisis. And he said, if you prepare for it and you diversify and it's wrong and it doesn't happen, well, you're worse off. But obviously if it does happen and you haven't diversified, then you've got a serious problem in terms of that process. Robert Kiyosaki went on to tell the story of the 30s in Germany. And there was apparently a lady who took her Deutschmarks in a wheelbarrow, and when she came out the shop, the Deutschmarks had been taken out and put on the floor and someone had stolen the wheelbarrow. And it spoke about how the middle class, when they get in that type of situation, they become desperate. And that's exactly what happened in Germany in the 30s, and that's how Hitler got into power. And they spoke a lot about how, Robert Kiyosaki said the American empire is coming to an end, and that the trajectory of the US dollar decline and the US dollar economy decline is accelerating. And Peter Schiff at lunch actually spoke about how he believes that China will overtake the American economy by 2050. So in the next 25 years, he actually sees that happening in terms of the process. They spoke a lot about inflation and the transfer of wealth that's actually happening with regards to inflation. And ultimately, when that happens, the money goes from the creditors to the debtors. And there's a massive, massive transfer of wealth. And Mike Maloney suggested there's a video on the hidden secrets of money. which you can go and find. I'll try and find the link for you and put it below, where you can go watch it on YouTube, but it's highly recommended. They also spoke, all of them have been studying. There's something I learned which was really interesting, is they don't just read books, they study them in a mastermind together. And the book that they're currently doing is a book called The Big Print. So that's a book called The Big Print, which I need to clearly read in terms of that process. Robert Kiyosaki went on to say, be the Fed, because the Fed is actually a Marxist organization, they're a bunch of criminals. And he said, you've got to behave with self-defense, you've got to protect yourself. And he said that's why he hangs out with people like Kenny McElroy and gives Kenny his money, reminding you that Kenny's looking to do $1 billion this year and take advantage of this opportunity. But he says, one of the things that's so important if you want to be the Fed is it all comes down to your mindset. How do you look at problems? And then most importantly, who do you hang out with? This was a core theme that came up over and over again today. Who do you hang out with? Who are the people you surround yourself with? Who's giving you your information in terms of it? Then the next question was, how can you change your thoughts? And they spoke a lot, all of them spoke about mindset and protecting your mind and what goes into your mind, and not necessarily focusing on the news, but where do you actually get the right information and protect your mindset in terms of that process. We then went into an Ask Anything section where any of us could ask any question of the faculty members. And the things that were reinforced was, again, the gold bull run, the fact that the gold is really running, the power of intention, so how you create the reality you want in your life in terms of where you're actually at. Building community and resilience. Again, we're in tough times, we're going into tough times, and so it's all about your community and your resilience in terms of it. And Peter said that he expects a profound change in the next 12 months, and so you need to be careful, be very careful with what you invest in. And he went on and on and on about diversification and making sure that you've got an alternative source of information and you're not just relying on the press. He said that Robert Kiyosaki spoke about that we're going through the biggest change in history. That's really interesting, the biggest change in history. And he said that he's investing in the 5 Gs, gold, gas, grub, as in food, ground, and guns. So those are the 5 Gs, gold, gas, grub, ground, and guns. Then Jason came back and he spoke again about the value of community and the fact that inflation is part of the future. You need to expect the best and prepare for the worst, but it's those that you hang around with that are ultimately going to determine how successful you are. And who's in your crowd? Look around. Who are the 5 people that you spend the most time with? Because they're going to have an impact with regards to your life. Then Jay said, and this was really interesting, a lovely quote I haven't heard before, and he said, it's easy to be negative, but it takes courage to be positive. Easy to be negative, but it takes courage to be positive. Then Scott spoke about the best investment you can make is in yourself. Warren Buffett says the number 1 investment you can make is in yourself. And he said it comes down to your mindset, your skill set, and your network in terms of that process. And then finally, Hannah finished with a relentless pursuit on dreams. And she said you must never lose your relentless pursuit on dreams. And the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships. And she explained how her lifelong mentor was Robert Kiyosaki and how she idolized him, and she started a podcast and she started teaching people about everything that's in this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then got introduced to him, and now he's not only a great mentor but a great friend. And so she spoke so much about community and who you hang around with, and it's because of the relationship with Robert that she got invited to be on this panel, and she's now becoming a global phenomenon. She's only 29 years old. It's incredible what she's achieved. And so if this is something of interest to you, click on the link down below and you'll go into our Wealth University. I'm going to do a free report on all the key takeaways from all the speakers. And the word, all you got to do is you got to write in the word community. So if you write the word community, then you're going to get access to all of the key takeaways from all the main speakers. As always, if you've enjoyed these, then you can go in to the link below. So again, click on the link below and you can go and join the community. Every day I've taken copious notes here in my book. I've recorded all the sessions here in my iPad. And so for those that join the Wealth Hackers, you're actually going to get access to all the recorded sessions. You're going to get cheat sheets on all the different sessions. And every Friday, I'm going to take you through live in terms of what I've learned. I'm going to go through, because obviously every session I've been taking lots of pictures. So I will put those all together and talk people through it, because there's so much more value, and synthesize. Obviously it's going to take me some time to synthesize all this information that I've gathered. And I really do want to share it. And obviously for my Mastermind members, I'll be taking them through it in even greater detail. If you click on the link below, we've also got Wealth Going Global launching soon, and that's where I'll share with you how to find the top 5 countries to invest in, the top 5 currencies to invest in, the top 15 assets to invest in. How do you find the right partners globally? And lastly, how do you build an investment strategy and a wealth plan over time? And so these are the things. Click on the link. It's literally free for you. You can access it. And this is my full debrief from day 7. Tomorrow we leave this boat and I fly home. And while I'm driving and flying home, I will start to work on it. I'm going to be, again, click on the link below and we'll let you know about it. I'm going to be bringing you and putting together a masterclass on my top takeaways from this entire event. It has been mind-blowing. And if you're interested in coming to join, it'll be first come, first serve for the Mastermind members. But if you're interested, then reach out to me because I've managed to secure a few spots so that you too can come and join next year. Now, I finished with one last comment. When I went to Necker Island with Richard Branson, I spent a whole week with him. It was incredible. I was with him breakfast, lunch and dinner. I kite surfed with him. I ran around the island. I played tennis with him. You name it. I had beers with him. And I got to ask him each and every question that I want to do. Well, it's been the same this week. On this Investor Summit, I've been here for 9 days now. And on the very first day, I saw Robert Kiyosaki. I was like, oh, let me take a picture with him and try to get a selfie and whatever. And today, by the end, I'm literally sitting right next to him having lunch. I had and just sitting at the table, and it's like you're just sitting with your mate now. You've had all the conversations, and like I started with this video, I finished off actually showing him the Wealth Migrate platform, which was just such an honor and a privilege, and he was so impressed by it. So it's just really incredible. So again, when you put yourself in the proximity, true magic can happen in terms of that process. So I hope you enjoyed these. If you do, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friend. Most importantly, click on the link, come in the community and get access to the full debrief on what they all had to say. And the secret word is literally, you got to type in the comment, is community. And if you enjoy this, I'm going to do a quick 5 tips from today and keep it short. Cheers.